NGUYEN is a hard-working family man from California who got lucky when he bought a winning Powerball ticket. Unfortunately, the timing was bad. NGUYEN was visiting Vietnam and didn't know that he had the winning ticket. He discovered his good fortune only upon returning to the USA several months later to find his face all over the news. Lottery officials released a security camera video of him purchasing the ticket, hoping that this would help them track down the winner. Unfortunately, NGUYEN's luck ended with the purchase. Seeing as it was bought months ago, NGUYEN couldn't locate his ticket anymore. He tried to claim the prize without the actual ticket, but that is against the rules, and the rules were not bent for this case. Unable to find the ticket before the deadline, NGUYEN was never able to claim his prize. DENISE ROSSI is a Californian woman who felt trapped in an unhappy marriage. Fortune smiled at her when she won the lottery. Her lucky lottery ticket was worth $1.3 million. When she cashed it in, she decided not to share the good news with her husband. On the contrary, she decided to divorce him. She left him without a word. The husband was suspicious, but still agreed to the divorce without much discussion. When he finally found out about her fortune and what it was that gave her the courage to disappear from his life, he sued her for not disclosing the information in the divorce settlement. He won the lawsuit and took every penny she had won away from her by the court's order. Joel Ifirgan is a Canadian man who has been involved in a 7-year-old unsuccessful lawsuit, with the goal being getting the money he had won on the lottery 7 seconds too late. Ifirgan purchased the winning ticket at a local convenience store just a few minutes before 9 p.m., which was the deadline for the ticket registration. He bought 2 tickets, out of which the second ticket, the $27 million one, was registered 7 seconds after the deadline. Because of this transgression, Ifirgan was awarded nothing. The man, however, found this to be a great injustice and decided to sue in order to get his full prize. 7 years later, the Supreme Court did not rule in his favor, and he is now left with a mountain of legal fees. In 2004, an elderly Indiana citizen got his 15 minutes of fame on television. 73-year-old Carl Atwood went on a lottery game filmed for TV and won $73,450. Sadly, the day that Atwood got lucky was also the last day of his life. That same evening, he went to a grocery store to do some shopping. He was crossing the street only a block away from his home when he got hit by a truck. The intersection was badly lit, and Atwood was wearing dark clothing, which made him impossible to spot for the truck driver, who was just turning the corner when he accidentally ran the recent lottery winner over. Timothy ELLIOTT is a man from Massachusetts who had a history of mental illness. He was diagnosed with schizoid personality disorder and was known to get into trouble. On one occasion, he robbed a convenience store, only to take all the money he had stolen into a different convenience store and buy all of the lottery tickets they had to offer. He didn't win anything, but he was taken to prison, where he was given minimal jail time due to his illness. He was, however, given mandatory mental health counseling and put on probation, which banned him from leaving the country, alcohol or drug consumption, as well as gambling. During this probation period, ELLIOTT purchased another lottery ticket and won $1 million. After he had cashed in his ticket, his photo made it to the papers, which led to him being recognized. As buying a lottery ticket is considered gambling, ELLIOTT was taken back into prison, and his winnings were forfeited. Jose Antonio Cuotoc was a refugee from Guatemala who moved to the USA in pursuit of the American dream. Finding a job he was satisfied with, he seemed to be doing well, only to reach the peak of his US dream by winning the lottery. Cuotoc got lucky and won $750,000. Cuotoc was an illegal immigrant, and thus he was afraid that being a lottery winner would draw too much attention to him. Trying to avoid the unwanted spotlight, he asked his boss, who knew of his situation, to cash the ticket in for him. The man agreed, and he did cash the ticket, but decided to take the money for himself and disappear. Cuotoc was understandably outraged and continued to hunt and sue his former boss over the winnings. During the trial, which he consequently won, he lost a huge portion of the winnings on lawyer fees, and most importantly, revealed himself as an illegal immigrant. When he picked up what was barely left of his money, he was forced to leave the country. A young man from Wichita, Kansas, who made his living working at the local Sonic burger stand, bought a lucky scratch ticket, which won him $750,000. He picked up his winnings at the lottery office where he got a bonus Lucky Lottery Winner t-shirt. He sported the t-shirt when he went to make his first purchase with his newfound wealth, which turned out to be marijuana and methamphetamine. When he went home with his judgment clouded from the tasting of the goods he had acquired, he reloaded his butane lighter, standing right next to a gas stove. This resulted in an explosion that destroyed most of his house, but luckily left him alive. Unfortunately for him, what survived with him was just enough drugs to give police reason to arrest him right after he came out of the hospital. FRANE SELAK from Croatia can either be regarded as the luckiest or the unluckiest man in the world. We featured his story in other videos before, but we just couldn't leave it out of this one. SELAK has a bad habit of getting into trouble his entire life, coming face to face with death far too often. The music teacher's string of near-fatal accidents started back in the 1960s when he was traveling on a train from Sarajevo to Dubrovnik when the train suddenly derailed and plunged into an icy river, killing 17 passengers, but not SELAK. The following year, SELAK flew to Rijeka when the cockpit door was blown away, killing 19 passengers and leaving SELAK with minor injuries as he miraculously landed in a haystack. In 1970, he managed to escape minutes before his car exploded due to a faulty fuel pump. And 3 years later, another one of his cars caught fire, with him losing only his hair, and other than that, being completely fine. 20 years later, he was hit by a city bus, and in 1996 he drove off a cliff to avoid an accident on the road and managed to survive that as well. In 2003, however, his string of unlucky misfortunes ended when he won a $1 million lottery. Andrew Jack Whittaker was a construction company president from West Virginia worth $17 million when he hit a $315 million Powerball jackpot. The wealthy man was now even wealthier, but decided to share the wealth his luck had brought him. Whittaker donated 10% of his winnings to Christian charities, $14 million to his Jack Whittaker Foundation, and bought the woman who sold him the lucky ticket a $123,000 house, a new Dodge Ram truck, and gave her $50,000 in cash. However, his kindness was not returned with kindness, but rather the opposite. What followed in Whittaker's life was a string of misfortunes. He was robbed multiple times and had his bank account emptied by thieves, and his car being broken into on multiple occasions. His granddaughter and her boyfriend died from a drug overdose, and his daughter died only several years after the tragic incident. Whittaker is allegedly broke now and known for giving way to an alcohol addiction, as well as a bad habit of frequenting dodgy strip clubs. Aruj Khan from Chicago wasn't a fan of the lottery, but in June 2012, he decided to try his luck. Amazingly, the one and only ticket he bought turned out to be a lucky one. Khan won $1 million. Khan decided to pick up all of his money at once, but his wait for the check was cut short as he was pronounced dead the very next day. His death was ruled a death of natural causes due to hardened arteries, and several basic tests were run to confirm this. Still, his relatives were suspicious, and they insisted on in-depth toxicology scans and a more thorough autopsy. Their hunch turned out to be right, as Khan was actually a very rare victim of cyanide poisoning. The suspicion that he was murdered for the large sum of money that he had won was confirmed when someone cashed his winnings 2 months later. The murderer was never discovered.